A lot of people say everyone hates estate agents. A lot of people say estate agents are idiots. A lot of people wish they could sell their house or let the house without using an estate agent. There is famously a long-standing negative narrative about estate agents. The media doesn't like them. The media is brutal to them. And people genuinely believe that estate agents are people that it is okay to treat badly because they're estate agents. Right? I've seen this with my own eyes. They're just human beings earning a living, right? They are not some alternate breed of human. They really aren't. And in fact, in many cases, the best ones are the most compassionate humans I know. They're amazing people. All agents face three big problems. Number one, a very wide lack of understanding of what they do. Even estate agents don't understand what estate agents do. And if that sounds like a patronizing comment, let me rephrase it. Estate agents underestimate the value of what they do to themselves. I have sat in a room with a great estate agent, one of the best I know, who said to me, Charlie, sometimes I sit down with a potential client in their house and say, look, I know I can get you a fantastic price for this house in a week because I know 3 buyers, all of whom are waiting for a house like this. They've all got money, they're ready to go. And I know, and he said, when the vendor turns around to me and says, well, why would I pay you so much money if you're going to sell my house in a couple of phone calls? And he said, I never know what to say. Look how long it's taken you to get yourself to the position where you can sell that house in a couple of phone calls. And look how few agents are actually capable of doing that. Problem number 2 that all agents face is the problem of overvaluing by most agents. If you're an honest agent and you want to win an instruction and you go around to meet someone who's selling their house and 2 other agents have put an inflated price on it in order to try to tempt the vendor to go with them, and you go in and say, look, I don't think it's worth that much, I think it's worth a bit less. Unless the vendor believes you and doesn't believe the others, they're not going to instruct you, and you're going to lose business by being honest. And problem number 3, the problem I've had front row seats to for the last 20 years, is that because of the large number of different things that agents have to do to get a house sold or let, they have to use lots of different systems. And none of those systems talk to each other. So they have an extremely time-consuming, fiddly, high-friction set of tasks to do their job. It's very disjointed. Every move, every house sale or house let has to go through this long process of many of them legally required processes. Right at the start of this, when I got into the industry, before I knew anything about how agents worked, and I thought they were, my view of agents was the same as everybody else's when I started. It was, well, they're totally unnecessary. Now that the internet's here, you can put a house on the internet. Agents just aren't needed anymore. And I thought, how hard can it be? I bought and sold a couple of properties of my own at this point, and it had been a bad experience. I thought, this is definitely going to be. And again, I was naive and foolish in how much I underestimated the complexity of estate agency, even having been a client who'd bought and sold 3 properties. So anyone who's wondering, why is estate agency so terrible? Why is the experience of moving a house or dealing with them so terrible?
Not that the movers have done anything wrong, but if you're a mover and you're maybe not qualified and you're almost dismissed, is that adding to why people hate agents?
That bad experience is frustrating. Why aren't they responding to me? Why can't I get a view on this property? Why don't they call me back? Why can't I get a mortgage? Most of the poor experience that first-time movers encounter is due to their lack of knowledge of the process.
Exactly.
It's even worse for tenants. I've got money, I can rent a place. Nobody wants to talk to me. It's a brutal learning curve as a first-time tenant. I've always known what an impossible mountain to climb this would be for anyone who tried to do it. Which is why I sat down with Ian Springett just after he launched On The Market and said, please take my ideas, because if you do, you'll achieve and deliver what you set out to achieve and deliver that you promised to your... I said, these are my free ideas. Okay. And I said to him, please do it. If you don't, then I will. Mm-hmm. I have been waiting 20 years for someone to do it. And about 5 years ago, I realized, it was after that meeting. It's like, this is the guy who did Prime Location, made lots of money, changed nothing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he's going to do it again. That's why I went to him thinking, if anyone can do this, Ian, you can do it. You know what agents want. You've built a successful portal, so you delivered something the consumer wanted as well. You can do it. Agents want an easier way to do their job because it's bloody difficult. An easier way to earn a living. They want a better reputation. They want to be recognized for what they do. And movers want the same. An easier experience. I placed myself, in my own head, I placed myself as the impartial observer of the battle between the consumer and the estate agent. 20 years in this, with this unique perspective of zero judgment. Don't judge the consumer, don't judge the agent. Just observe what actually happens. Is, I think, what's put me in the position to come up with the concept, the idea, the notion of a better way for agents and movers to transact, to communicate, to interact. I was introduced to a guy who's pretty famous. I've never heard of him then. He's an American. He's a very American, in the best way. But as I discovered, a lot of English people can't stand listening to the Americanisms too much if it's about their own life. Tony Robbins, and he had this system called RPM, Rapid Planning Method, I think it was. And it was like 10 tapes you had to listen to. I managed to get it all digitized and listen to it in the car while driving. But at the very, very end of that very, very long course, he wrapped it up with a question, which I've never forgotten. I was driving through Germany on my own. And the question was, look, when all is said and done, what's going to matter is when you're lying on your deathbed and you know that your number's up and it's time to go, whatever age that happens to be, and you look back on your life, in that moment, what will you care about? Those aren't the exact words of the question. That's how I remember the question, right? The answer I came up with, and again, I was 33, this is 10 years before I became a father, was that all I will care about in that moment is the safety and well-being of my children and grandchildren, and, which is pretty much what most people think about, right? So I wrote that off as, okay, standard. Most people are going to just think, I'm leaving, is everyone going to be okay? Then I've got to somehow get them onto that path of striving for the greatest achievement you think you are possible of making. Whether you succeed or fail doesn't matter, because it is the striving that is fulfilling. That is also a very liberating thought. It doesn't matter if this succeeds or fails. If it fails, I had a fulfilling time trying. My life felt like it had purpose. Lots of people fail, and that's okay. I don't care if I go to my grave and have failed to deliver what I want to deliver, which we haven't talked about yet. As long as I gave it my best shot. And my best shot, I mean everything. I mean giving it 100%, not 99, not 99.9, but to be able to look back and say, I couldn't have tried harder. I realized that unless we set out to build something world class, and I'm not saying that lightly, I actually mean it. It had to be world class in its construction and the technology we used. There was certainly no chance of success. So 5 years ago, when we very first started building it, the very first line of code, the architecture with which we built it, was based on the world-class, world-beating platforms at that time. So what we have built, completed, constructed, tested in the real world and rolled live has never been done before. And so there's no handbook. So we built a piece of world-class tech that had to be better in every way than anything else that currently exists, okay? What currently exists? Rightmove, Zoopla, OnTheMarket, OneDome. We've built a single platform that all in one takes care of what portals do, takes care of what CRMs do, takes care of national billing, invoicing and accounting. Well, includes something that's not been done before, which is a business-to-business marketplace for estate agency suppliers. And on the back of that, we were able to do two cool things. Number one, offer an online viewing booking function for any property in the UK, which any agent in the UK can accept viewings through without having to use a dashboard, without having to sign a contract. Any agent in the UK can just simply accept online viewing requests that come from BestAgent, if they so choose. So we've built in that. What Rightmove right now has just started doing a small test with just in lettings, we've released nationally already. We have built BestAgent to be the most secure. Compared to all those other sites, our security is next level, next generation. Websites that contain huge amounts of data, as in pages, photographs, and in our case, properties and property information, they're big and they're clunky and they fall over sometimes. And ours is like lightning. It's so fast. It doesn't matter how many properties are in. There could be 15 million properties in there. It wouldn't change it. A lot of small agents are going to realize that we're handing them the power of technology that up until now only corporate agents have had, and we're giving it to them for nothing. I see agents, small agents' businesses being constantly threatened or compromised or affected by the fact that they are hamstrung to products they don't want to be. To the consumer, and to the agent for that matter, we have built the answer to the problem of the last 25 years. It's a new property website. It has all the publicly available properties for sale and to let on it, which makes it the only site that does that. It allows you to request a viewing online with one click for any property in the UK that you want to go and view and see, and allows the agents to accept your viewing request with one click. It preserves your anonymity, your contact details if you are a mover, until such time as an agent you want to contact accepts your contact request. Whereas with all the other sites, you have to share your contact information up front and then you might get a response. We've also stripped out all of the agent branding on the properties so that when you're looking through properties, you're just seeing a scrolling page of properties. We've removed all the clutter. It doesn't matter which agent is selling or letting that property. If you're a buyer or a tenant, you're just interested in the property. And in doing so, it therefore levels the playing field in terms of agent presentation. It's just about the property. So that's what we've built for people, for buyers and tenants. That's what it is for buyers and tenants. But for sellers and landlords, it's something else. It is the first time there's ever been a way to easily consider all of your local agents before choosing who to invite round to your house for evaluation. And again, it allows you to approach up to 20 of your local agents without revealing your identity, your contact information, or your precise address. Okay, so you can sit in the comfort of your own home and go, let's sell our home. It's time to sell our home. Especially as we're first-time sellers, we have no clue what agent we're going to use. I also don't want to be ringing around agents having to repeat my life story every time. Find your agent on BestAgent, put your postcode in, basic property information. Instantly, your 20 closest agents that are currently listing 2 or more properties in the same postcode as you, and invites all of them to introduce themselves or join you on a video call. So for consumers, we've got a very easy way to find a new home, book a viewing on it, and an even easier way to find a new agent and invite them around for evaluation. We've built a national agency CRM system with all your properties pre-populated in it. So all you have to do is activate your account and your property is already there. If Rightmove is Volkswagen, BestAgent is Tesla. If BestAgent were to end up being used by 10% of movers to find their agent and find their home, and those movers and their agents had a better experience, I would be very, very happy.
But it's not for us. It's not for you. It's not for me. It's for the mover, and that's where my passion lies. Is I'm like, make it.
Do you know my favourite line that we've had from an agent is, well, if they want to talk to me, they'll call me. Yes, so they won't call you then.
Yeah.
It's just that they can't understand the concept of this is an introduction to a client you would not otherwise have had, and they don't see it that way.
No.
It staggers me that some agents actually believe that, well, everyone knows which agent they're going to use. How can you be in the industry, do that, and actually believe that everyone knows they want to use? Nobody. Very few people. Some people who've found an agent previously and they love them and they're still there, yes, they're going to call those guys. So that very strong pre-existing relationship, yes, you know who you're going to use. But if you don't have a pre-existing relationship with an agent that you really enjoy working with, nobody knows. For people who don't know how to find that rare thing, a great estate agent, to find one. My ultimate goal with BestAgent is to completely eliminate rough sleeping in the UK. Not homelessness. There are homeless people who have somewhere to sleep at the moment, but they don't have a home. And that's terrible and bad and needs to be fixed as well. But my specific desire, wish, goal, ambition, objective is that nobody should have to sleep outside if they don't want to. We all make poor life choices at some point, right? But nobody deserves that in a country like this. I can remember a long time ago, when I very first started working in London, 1990. And it was the first time I encountered rough sleeping. And my job was in the city, and I was going into a place full of traders and brokers and bankers, and most of whom were very wealthy people. I can remember the general consensus. There were exceptions. The general consensus was that homeless people and rough sleepers and beggars of any description were scum who deserved it. And I can remember someone saying to me, just tell them to get a job. And at the time, I so ashamed to admit it, but at the time I was like, oh, okay, that's how it is it? I didn't question it that much, but still something, I don't know. I whenever I saw them, I just felt terrible. The only word I can think of to describe that point of view, that perspective, that get a job point of view, is colossal ignorance and stupidity, because who could possibly think that get a job message isn't what they would already have done or tried to do if they could? I mean, okay, wait, you might be thinking, hang on a second, what's this got to do with Best Agent, right? I will get to the explanation of how Best Agent, working with agents, has the potential to eliminate rough sleeping. Even if I were just to reduce it significantly, I'd put that down as a good life achievement. I'd put that down as a good example to set my kids. Let's say there's 50,000 rough sleepers, right? And let's say there's 500,000 empty homes. Okay, you've got 10 empty homes for every one rough sleeper. And if one empty home can house 2 rough sleepers, then you only need 1 in 20 of those empty properties, so 5% of them, to provide enough accommodation to remove everybody from the streets. Now that might sound like simplistic, okay? And of course it is. And I'm not suggesting that, oh, that's really easy. Why would anyone turn over their property? If you can incentivize people and offer them a way in which they can help at no cost to themselves, people like helping. The basis of this is a piece of technology that would speed up the process and allow it to happen very quickly, because of course there's going to be people coming and going an awful lot of time. There's new people sleeping on the streets all the time. I will start by going to councils, town councils, city councils, and saying, in principle, would they be prepared to waive council tax that's paid on a property, on an empty property, if the owner of that property allowed it to be used for the purposes of temporary shelter for rough sleepers? Just in principle. What I'd want is to ask agents, all agents, to approach the clients they have that they know who might be open to this, where there's no work whatsoever for the owner of the property. They are insured against any damage or loss arising out of the occupation of this property. And that's something that Best Agent would be looking to fund. In fact, that's part of what I would see Best Agent paying for. Hopefully, the property owners would get the sense of having helped. I'm hoping that a pilot scheme, with just a few to start with, will start to allow us to develop it. It does require the cooperation of agents. It does require a piece of technology to enable the communications of this. So there's a property involved. There's let's call them a guest, right? A guest involved. There's an agent involved. There's probably an authority of some kind involved. Mm-hmm. And that's where you need a piece of tech that can streamline those communications. That would give me more a sense of fulfillment, achievement, purpose, and reward than any amount of money I could ever make. I remain in awe of anyone who makes a living as an estate agent, good or bad. And what they do is so important at the point in people's lives when they need them. And what I would say to anyone listening to this who is about to move house, right? You might not think you care about estate agents, and you might think but you need them right now. And if you want that, your move can go well or it can go badly or anywhere in between, right? So there's a sliding scale from 0 to 100 of how well or badly your move can go. And the one thing I guarantee you is that the more closely and more cooperatively you work with your agent, the better the outcome of your move. I guarantee you. So if you've got feelings of disrespect towards agents, I urge you to put them to one side. Through contact of my parents, I got offered a job after I did a bit of insurance broking, which is a job I got myself. I applied, got a job in their admin department. After 6 months, they moved me up to London, and I was an insurance broker working in the Lloyd's market, working in the insurance market in the city. And then one day, I was in the lift with a guy whose name I wish I could remember. Really nice, friendly guy. He's like one of the only guys who's really friendly to me. He was old. He was in his 30s. I was still a teenager. We were in the lift together, and he said, "You're doing all right, Charlie. You keep this up. By the time you get to my age, you might be where I am." For some reason, that sounded like a fire alarm going off in my head. What? 12 years of doing this? And I quit, and I went traveling. So I thought, I've got to find a way to basically earn a basic living. And I just went back to car washing with a bit more seriousness this time. And in no time at all, I built up a round of regular customers. And I actually had a great little business as a 21-year-old. I remember my stepfather said to me that an old friend of his from his IBM days, or somewhere else, had a son who was my age, and he was a computer coder. And he was looking for someone to help him out because he was a coder, but he needed a salesman, and maybe I should give him a ring. And I took the number down and thought nothing of it for a long time, and didn't call the guy. And then eventually one day, I was told he lives in Wimbledon. I found myself in Wimbledon one day with a bit of time to kill, and I rang him out of the blue. We met up there and then for a coffee and hit it off immediately. And he and I went into business as e-commerce consultants, working out of not my flat, but the flat that I was living in that belonged to my brother. But while we were working on that project, we started thinking about what we were going to do together, and that's when we came up with this idea about property, right? Cutting out estate agents. We came up with an idea that with a few phone calls and a couple of in-person meetings got us £100,000 of investment into the bank and valued our company at £1 million. We got £100,000 for 10% of our company. At that point was purely an idea. The flaw in our initial idea to cut out estate agents altogether with a company called Property to Go, which will just post virtual tours and photographs of people's properties on the internet through our what we call datography service at the time, data and photography. So we would have a team of photographers going around to private sellers' homes, photograph them, put them on our website, and let people come and find those properties. Not one of those guys thought, well, hang on a second, that's not going to work. All of them like, this is a surefire winner. They poured a lot more money in it after that first 100,000. They continued putting money into it as we grew the service. And of course, the massive lesson that we all learnt was estate agents are necessary. We started selling that technology, that photography and floor plan service to estate agents. So we went from a B2C idea to a B2B proposition and product and service. And it went very well. We were the first people ever to do it anywhere in the world. One-stop photography, floor plans and virtual tours. We also built a website product so that the agents could display all these photographs because their current websites couldn't display more than one scanned photo. And we grew we had 40 people in London and a handful in Sydney. And I was told that I had to find a way to make the company profitable. So I turned around and went, well, hang on. We've got 6 highly paid directors here, only 2 of whom are involved with the day-to-day delivery operations. How can I cut costs without affecting the delivery of service to clients? Take out these expensive people. When my plan came to the board, they turned around and voted to fire me, which was something I just never even considered as a possibility. I was a 33% shareholder. I was the managing director. That was, at that point, the most painful experience of my life because I put 4 years. I'd also poured myself into it so completely that I'd totally neglected friends, family, and everything else in my life. And then the real blow came when they bankrupted that company and did a pre-pack administration to basically keep the company going, but without me as a shareholder. So literally, the one thing I had left was my shares in that business. And they took that too. And what I knew that the law is anyone can bid. And in fact, the receiver's job is to get as much money as possible. So with under 24 hours notice, I managed to arrange a banker's draft, because I didn't have any money, right? for £250,000. And eventually they had to sort of say, okay, this guy's here, right? So I finally get to see the person. I can't remember who it was. No idea what the name was. And I'm like, here is the banker's draft for £250,000 as an offer to buy this company that you are selling. Oh yeah, sorry. Didn't we tell you? It's got to be cleared in our bank account by 12 o'clock. It's now 11:15, 11:30. I've got 30 to 45 minutes. And if it's not, if we don't have proof of it paid into our account before 12 o'clock, you're too late. And I ran for all my life was worth with this fucking banker's draft flapping in the wind, sprinting down the street, sprinting to the street, not knowing if there was going to be a queue when I got to the bank, pouring with sweat, out of breath, talked my way to the front of the queue. And I got this thing stamped 11:59 a.m. Right, with 1 minute. And I walked back into their offices, a sweaty wreck, and said, would you please take a photocopy of that and then give me back the original? They've offered 75 grand. We've offered 250 grand 1 minute before the deadline. Right, in light of this, we feel it necessary to offer the other party an extension on the deadline to see if they'd like to match the offer. And they gave them 36 hours. So they gave them until midnight the following night. But they got it.
How much for
250. They didn't even have to put an extra £1 in. And I remember saying to the receivers, so if they match my offer, do I get an extension to put more money in? Oh no. It's only taken me 22 years to get to the point where I have completed the construction of a product that now has the potential to change the property market because of the adverse experience I've had with almost every investor or partner I've ever had. I finally divested myself of partners and investors 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And it was the first time since I began with Ollie Chappell in that flat when it was just the two of us. Since then, this is the first time I have felt able to do my job. The difference between my approach then and my approach now is my approach then was build a product, build it up to some small customers, then get more customers, then grow organically, and eventually, hopefully, everyone will adopt it and you'll have the industry standard. And my approach now is build something that from day one is designed to be the industry standard so that it's ready if people decide to adopt it. We tried outsourcing everywhere. India, Sri Lanka, America, Australia. And then one day, all we needed at this point was some technology that would allow us to deliver our finished photographs and floor plans back to our estate agency clients that we were taking photographs and floor plans for, and allow them and to build an online order form, right? And to do the billing and just the whole online delivery system for that, which no one else had built at that point. I remember going to Google and going, I can't remember what I Googled. And up pops this company called Magic Web Solutions. It wasn't a big company. It was one Russian guy living in Dartford with a team back in Russia. And this is 2003. They developed and delivered tech very fast, like really well and really fast. And because they were outsourced, as in they were a supplier, I didn't have to ever argue with them like you have to argue with employees. Mm-hmm. Can you do that? Well, I have a couple of questions first. Here are the questions. Here are the answers. Oh, yeah, we can do that. And they delivered. And they always delivered. And this was a revelation to me after 4 or 5 years of having to beat my head against a wall with over-opinionated developers who didn't understand that they were one part of the company in the product. They weren't the company. You know, they were an outsourced IT web application developer, but they had strengths and weaknesses. And one of their weaknesses was they weren't designers. That relationship eventually came to an end because they said, look, could you find someone else to do the front end? They told, we don't have that skill. We're not great front end people. We're great back end people. Database and logic layers, but front end we can't do. And so that's how I ended up finding the person who to this day leads our team in Lisbon. who, without a question, in 22 years is the best I've ever worked with in almost every sense you can imagine. But when I met him, he was just a front-end coder. And he's grown into this tech god. I mean, he's a coding god. And I think all the other developers agree with that. And gradually, he said, right, we can take it in-house now. So having never had guys in-house for best part of 12 years, I set up my own corporation in Lisbon. They started experimenting with brand new stuff that no one else had used. BestAgent was, to my knowledge, the first 100% serverless enterprise application in Europe. We set off on an expedition without knowing how far it was, right? We thought it was going to be 2 years and it's been 5. Without knowing how hostile the terrain was, without knowing who we were going to lose and win along the way. As we record this, we have our minimum viable product live out in the real world, processing real inquiries from real movers going to real agents. And this nationwide product that we've built has the country's properties in it, has the country's estate agents in it, and all their properties in it, and has the ability to allow people to book viewings online and find their agent online, and has a nationwide CRM system in the back of it. It is a colossal piece of tech. It takes care of at least two, if not 3 other entire sectors all in one go. And in doing so, brings together the entire environment that the industry needs to be integrated in one place. All we've got to do now is get people to adopt it. After 20 years working with agents, I know how angry they get when they see tech companies making money off the back of their data. Money that those tech companies don't in any way allow the agent to benefit from. First of all, it is by far the most cost-effective way of aggregating properties into one place for the consumer to search. By far the most cost-effective and efficient way. Okay? It is pure tech. It involves 0 human input to do it. Took us a while to build it, to build that piece of tech, and that is a very big, very powerful piece of tech that's only actually, thanks to Amazon Web Services, even possible. But secondly, in the scenario where this website starts to become a real source of leads and business for agents, they are not having to subsidize the cost of data feeds. So we have eliminated the cost of data feeds for a property website. Not just the financial cost, but the time cost and the hassle. It's just done. And despite having already been offered the opportunity to monetize this data, we haven't monetized it. The first group of people I want to deliver value to before we make any money, apart from consumers, obviously, but they're not paying us. The first group is agents. So BestAgent's primary source of income will be from when an agent chooses to purchase a lead that we've sent them or an instruction that they've won through us. At the moment, the only referral partner we have taken on board is a online mortgage provider. And yes, if we end up with substantial consumer traffic, there are many other referral fee opportunities open to us on the back of that consumer traffic. This is what agents don't like, and I get why. They do not like companies making money on traffic that is generated using their listings. And here's what I want to do with any profit we make from referral income. I am making a commitment right now today on video. Once BestAgent is a stable, viable business and is generating any profit at all from referral commissions, we will make 100% of the referral commission profit available for charitable donations to local independent charities chosen by agents, not by us. So let me rephrase that. Best Agent will ensure that 100% of profits from referral income will go back to the community in a way that local agents deem appropriate. The only rules I want to set on this is that they will not be allowed to donate these profits to national or corporate charities, but to local independent charities. We're talking about homelessness, we're talking about food poverty, that kind of stuff. But again, we may put some guidelines on which charities can or can't be recipients of this money, but we won't be choosing who they are. It's another way in which Best Agent, working with agents, can help the neediest people in their communities. We will earn our money and make our profit on the sale of leads that agents want to buy. That's our bread and butter for Best Agent, right? But referral commission is dirty money, and that's why I want to give it back to the charity. I hope that both movers and agents will like and support this initiative.